Namaste, everyone, and welcome to yet another show of Heart to Heart, a chat show that has been organized by Zena Family. I am your host, Dr. Vishal Saxena, who's going to speak to you along with my very special guest today. I will disclose his name a bit later. Till then, I would like to tell you about today's topic. Today's topic was a very hot topic in India way back on November 8th, 2016. A topic which nobody can forget in their lifetime, I'm sure. So let me introduce you to our topic of our today is demonetization. Although this topic is quite old, but it is still impacting our businesses and our future growth of 2025 and 2026. And I would like to share with you a very beautiful line scripted by a very profound gentleman who is well versed in the field of global market and economic strategy. What is the line? Wealth preservation is my dharma. Return generation is my karma. What a beautiful line this has been scripted. And this line has been scripted only by our guest of today, Manish Agarwal ji. Welcome, Manish Agarwal ji, to our show. And I would like you to introduce yourself today because that is where people will connect with you more and we can go much deeper into this topic of demonetization. Over to you, Manish ji.
Dhanyavad, Dr. Vishal. My name is Manish Agrawal, and I am Ahmedabad graduate, PGP 1995 batch, and IIT Kanpur graduate, BTech 1992 batch. Post that, worked in the corporate sector for several years, primarily in banking. I held certain positions in Citibank and senior level positions in Deloitte and Dell. My last corporate assignment was with a listed energy firm, a solar energy firm, where I was their chief operating officer for several years. Uh, Apart from this, I've been very fortunate to operate as a visiting faculty for SP Jain Institute of Management, Global Management in Singapore and Dubai for about 4 years. In this period, I also took courses on leadership, decision making at IIM Udaipur, IIM Raipur, and IIM Indore. Last 7, 8 years, I've been involved as a financial advisor where I help people with their uh, financial investments on a personal trust or a family level.
Thank you for your introduction, Manish ji. Yet welcome again. Manish ji, before we go deep into this topic, what made you write this beautiful line? Wealth preservation is my dharma, return generation is my karma.
Uh, so, uh, so I'm very deeply associated with one more very important facet of my life, which is around dharma. And I
Mm-hmm.
follow a system of spiritual practice which is called heartfulness. In fact, I live
Uh-huh.
in the wonderful campus of Kanha Shantivanam, which is on the outskirts of Hyderabad. It's about 1,600 acres of lush green uh, uh, plantations and residential colonies, meditation hall, which can house 100,000 people at one go. So I've been associated with the Indian spiritual and cultural traditions very closely, and the word dharma actually comes from there. So the word dharma
Okay.
is not religion as many people sort of think. The word dharma
Mm-hmm.
comes from that which sustains. It comes from the Sanskrit word dhri, Dhri, and
Okay.
what it means is that which sustains. So anything that sustains is dharma. It's
Okay.
not, say, religion per se, as many people believe. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a wonderful article written by a gentleman called Rajiv Malhotra. He's a very famous author. He has explained dharma in much greater detail, saying that anything that preserves, therefore, becomes dharma. So an electron itself has a dharma when it goes around the nucleus because it's following that which sustains the universes. So dharma is not limited to only the animate objects in the universe. It is also extends to the inanimate part of the universe. So this tagline was actually drawn from there that uh, driving returns is my dharma, preserving capital and driving returns is my uh, dharma as a
Very
my capacity as a financial advisor.
This was a beautiful line, and I'm sure today when the people will speak to you, will be getting connected to this particular video through YouTube or through LinkedIn of ours. I'm sure they will understand about your deep knowledge in the finance, which bridges with the spirituality part also. Such a pleasure to be with you on today's show. So Manish ji, before we go in deeper into this topic, I would like to ask you one question. How do you personally summarize the objective behind demonetization?
So essentially, the objective behind demonetization was to drain the economy of the cash that was floating around in the system, which was not taxed and therefore part of the informal economy,
Mhm.
and two, anything which is not part of the formal economy or money which is not part of the formal economy becomes a
Mhm.
cesspool where all kind of shady operators, including terrorists,
Oh
Naxalites,
my God. Mhm.
foreign powers, corrupt officials, they can
Mhm.
all wade into that cesspool without being detected.
Eh,
So the whole idea was to drain this swamp
mhm.
so that the operators in this space will either be naked or will commit suicide. Actually, one very important operator did commit suicide also.
Okay. So these were the official objectives behind doing demonetization, like
Right.
black money, fake currency, terrorism, and financing to curb their operations in India and all over the globe. Right, sir?
Yeah.
So, sir, do you think the purpose was misunderstood by the public at that particular time when it happened so suddenly overnight?
So let's say one thing that uh, it's not that the purpose was not understood.
You know?
The job of the political opposition to the existing government
Mhm.
was to oppose and create a narrative that uh, something has not been done appropriately.
Okay.
And they almost succeeded in that.
Hmm.
Having said so, there are a large body of people who are very adversely impacted by this demonetization exercise. So they joined the chorus, though they very fully knew that this activity can only have benefits and absolutely no downsides. I mean, except a very
Okay.
temporary downside of the inconvenience and
Hmm.
draining out of the uh, cash. But
So,
yes, I think it would be fair to say uh, that the surgery that was required was done.
mhm.
So the patient, at the time of undergoing the surgery, could not appreciate the surgery.
He was into local anesthesia.
Yeah.
Acha, Manish, ji, one more question I would like to ask you. If we see that November 8th, this happened and everybody was helter-skelter everywhere, did any other country apart from India ever tried to do demonetization? Or it was India which took the first bold step?
No, this demonetization in different formats have been done within India, even during the Congress government.
Okay.
So Indira Gandhi, for example, at some point demonetized 1,000 rupee notes that used to exist. Uh,
Okay.
so like this has been attempted, but the thoroughness with which this was implemented and the effectiveness, because there were certain after steps that happened post this, was far more than uh, what had happened in the past. And
Correct.
not only that, in the past, the operators within the government themselves had a very huge stake in the continuation of black money,
Mhm.
whereas BJP, being new to the government, had relatively less stakes in the continuation of black money.
Okay. So that is how it happened. Because see, people normally advertised long queues, cashlessness, people not having money, and this is what it was happening all over the newspapers, news channels everywhere. And that was very alarming. Correct, sir?
Correct.
Which sector was hit the hardest, if you have to see?
See, the real the hardest hit sector was the what we call as the informal sector, people, small traders, because they largely operated through cash. And they
Mm-hmm.
were hardest hit not only in the sense of changing the way they had to do business, but
Mm-hmm.
also in the sense that temporarily or their business almost came to a standstill, because it's like supposing you have been transacting in cash for decades and suddenly somebody says from tomorrow no cash.
Mm-hmm.
You will find it very, very difficult to navigate that environment. And for a certain period of time, there was this genuine problem of transactions coming to a full stop.
Mm-hmm.
This is one big area. The second area was real estate. So in fact, real estate transactions, which involved huge components of cash, especially in the northern part of the country, they were very
Mm-hmm.
adversely affected. Overall, in the economy, there was, especially in the informal sector, there was a cash and crunch and a liquidity crisis, and that was a very genuine, severe impact that they had to undergo at that point in time.
Okay. So one more question to it, sir. Like when this demonetization happened, was there any shift did people observe between consumer and the businessman?
No, that happened after the demonetization exercise. That today, I mean, I'll give you a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting example after the
Yeah, yeah,
demonetization.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, I went to drink this sugarcane juice,
Correct.
and I at that time did not operate my Google Pay and all those kind of things. I still don't
Mm-hmm.
operate UPI. I operate Google Pay, but not so much as UPI. That
Mm-hmm.
person refused to take cash from me. Didn't know how to use the electronic payment mechanism to make the payment. So he was
Mm-hmm.
generous enough to say that, okay, don't bother. I mean, just a glass of juice. I'm giving it to you free, but I cannot
Mm-hmm.
take cash. And this was a
Okay.
sugarcane juice where I had to pay probably 20, 30 rupees.
Oh my goodness.
And after that, I've had several experiences where in certain shops, very, very small shops, uh,
Mm-hmm.
they had where the person said, it's okay, don't pay this amount. Let small amounts they would adjust and sort of waive off if you could not pay electronically.
Okay. So sir, the initial chaos somehow accelerated long-term change. That means basically.
Yes, yes, it did. Very, very clear.
Okay. Okay, now let's think which more one more question and one more thing which came in like okay, demonetization happened, chaotic situation, long lines, long queues, and everybody was yes, good words were very less, and the words which were basically alarming words were spread all over the newspapers, social medias, and everything. So now, if we have to see now, India is going very ahead in terms of financial transactions globally. So UPI today is the world's most successful digital payment system. How much credit of this shift goes back to demonetization?
See, I wouldn't just say that this was see demonetization was part of the overall game plan. It was not the game plan. This was just
Okay.
part of the game plan. Uh, so think about say supposing you are discussing attrition in a company. There is no one way
Mm-hmm.
by which you can solve for attrition, right? There is a series of steps.
Mm-hmm.
So demonetization was one step, and then there were series of other steps which were all pre-planned and taken in such a way that the gains made during demonetization were held up rather than
Okay.
frittered away through the through greater generation of black money. So it's not that we have done away with black money, but definitely it's become much more difficult, and a lot of businesses, even small businesses, are shifting from informal economy to a formal economy.
Okay. Now, demonetization, did it impact the tax compliances and the formal economy?
Yes, yes, very much it did. There's
Hmm.
a lot of data. So first is during demonetization, all cash deposits that came into the system were scrutinized
Hmm.
at different levels, and the government actually divided them into four buckets, saying very high risk. They were about 100,000 cash deposits, which are considered very high risk in terms of scrutinization. Then another 200, 300,000, which were considered relatively less risk than very low risk and somewhat moderate risk. So they were all
Mm-hmm.
scrutinized. So the government got a lot of data of who was holding the cash,
Okay.
right? And remember,
Mm.
a lot of games were also played in order to make those small cash deposits which could not be uh, easily detected. And informal information suggests that a lot of cooperative banks were involved in reducing the size of the transaction and making that cash money white.
Yeah, 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 yeah. We have also like since that time I was in Dubai, so I have read many places like gold market had immediately gone up. People were everywhere in the gold shop also transacting money with gold purchase also.
Exactly. So there was so at that time, in fact, a lot of gold traders have gotten into big trouble. I belong to Hyderabad. There was one big gold trader who was actually arrested along with his
Cha.
sons because they tried to make about fake invoices of about 110 crores in a single day.
Hmm.
So so all these kind of things happened, and the government came up with a very good data mine of where the cash was, at least of that particular vintage, and
Okay.
it sort of drained the swamp. Very
Mm-hmm.
clearly, what you will notice is that a lot, I mean, there was a person in Pakistan who was the chief of their currency racket in India, and
Oh
he
my
committed
goodness.
suicide on that particular day when demonetization was. I mean, not on that day, but very soon.
Mm-hmm.
He was because he realized that he's now financially bankrupt, and the Pakistan state is not going to bail him out for the fact that he's holding a lot of amount of cash and that cash is not useful anymore. And this not only affected these terrorists but also Naxalites to a lesser extent because Naxalites were within the country and they were not operating a racket from outside the country. But it became very,
Mm-hmm.
very difficult for them. I mean, all terrorist finance, as I said, when a swamp is drained,
Mm-hmm.
whoever was
Mm-hmm.
this in the swamp becomes naked.
Correct. Okay. So now, sir, what effect on the real estate and gold market also was heavily there during that time?
Yes, very much. As I told you, a lot of people tried to convert their cash into gold holdings. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously, the premiums went up, which means the gold people who were actually doing it probably were charging a premium. I mean, of course, all this is all in the informal sector. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we won't have exact data, but those are the kind of newspaper articles you were reading at that time.
One more thing, sir. What effect did it happen in the banking sector?
So in the banking sector, one is the banking sector became flush with cash. A lot of cash
Okay.
walked into the formal economy, right? Which was lying in
Mm-hmm.
the so the banking
Mm-hmm.
sector was flush with cash.
Okay.
So liquidity of the banks in the or liquidity within the banking system improved, the informal liquidity dried up.
So, like what I understand from that, what we have been hearing now from you, which is making us very clear. So,
Hmm.
like basically, the transparency and accountability economy was basically coming into more formalized during that particular time after that.
Correct. And it has very deep impact. Understand the impact is not that they're just becoming formalized. See, understand when the economy
Mm.
becomes formalized, two very
Mm-hmm.
important things happen. One
Mm-hmm.
is the income gets taxed. Currently, your tax
Correct.
rate is very, very low. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, of course, it's largely a problem of the government's policies because the government has said 70% of our people, which is the agricultural folks, they are out of the tax net now. Still, because
Mm-hmm.
agriculture income is not taxed. So effectively,
Mm-hmm.
that three-fourths of the population is not in the tax net.
Okay.
The second thing that happens is once small traders, etc., become formalized, the economy becomes
Mm-hmm.
more formalized. Then what happens is they can pick up loans, right?
Hmm.
Loans and access to funding becomes possible for them. Once access to become funding becomes possible, then they can scale up their businesses, which they were never able to do because of their short-sightedness. That they didn't
Correct.
realize that this cash economy is actually holding their business back.
Hmm. Achha, sir. Now, see, the government had taken a very harsh step for demonetization. Could they would have done with a softer way of looking at things, a softer plan?
Very difficult to say and do because it's in theory everything is possible, but in reality,
Hmm.
remember, an exercise like this could not be done by getting a lot of stakeholders to get prepared for the event.
Okay.
Simply because the moment that information was out, it would have finished off
The people,
the shock and awe that the economy got as a result of the exercise.
the
So
money would have been parked somewhere else.
this money would have moved out. A lot of things would have happened, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the fact is that this was done with very minimal preparation. Uh,
Okay.
of course, whenever it's like you should think of it as a surgery. When you do a surgery, you cannot expect that everything will be going. I mean, there will be pain, there will be blood. You can't hope to
Okay.
see that there will be surgery
Only,
without blood.
and a successful surgery that happened
Yeah,
basically.
in this case, I would consider it a successful surgery. Yes.
Achha, one more thing. Suppose we are like you were in that place. How would you redesign demonetization today? What would you change
No,
if you were in it?
now I mean, the need of demonetization is very limited in today's economy because, as I said, the government took a series of other steps which were built
Mm-hmm.
on this demonetization to formalize the economy. One was the
Okay.
GST. The moment you have GST, it becomes very difficult to move goods without
Paying of
they coming into
any
the
documents
normal
and
part of the economy.
any documents, everything.
Right. Now, with more and more application of IT and data analytics, it's very difficult to hide income because they are tracking all
Okay.
your expenses, right?
Okay.
So it's not always see earlier the income tax regime was based on the principle of going and raiding to people and finding out where they are hiding their cash. That's no longer required now. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. This does not mean that black money has finished off in the economy, but it has been become layered and layered, and it's entered the formal economy through what is called a layering process.
Achha, sir, like one more thing, sir, like the Indian government took a very bold step. What does demonetization teach leaders about balancing intent and execution?
Yeah, I personally think this was very well executed. I mean, under
Mm-hmm.
circumstances, you can always criticize and say that you have to have long queues, but there's no other way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Especially at that particular point in time, I mean, this was not a situation where you could say, I will plan for 6 months and then go and do a flawless execution. That won't have worked. Fundamentally, it won't have.
Mm-hmm. Achha, sir, does India in future require any other demonetization will come? If yes, why? If not, why not?
My sense is in future, demonetization in the way we did it in 2016 may not be required because the electronic tools available with the government and the information available with the government does not necessitate that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and as more and more tax havens outside the country are brought under different types of information requirements and FATCA and these agreements, DTA agreements, it will become more and more
Mm-hmm.
difficult to hide. And this is, I think, the more or less the consensus view even in the business circles. Uh, so 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 the incentive for people to generate cash is much less now.
So the demonetization is was just not an event basically. It was
Yeah,
basically turning point which
yeah.
changed everything.
Yes, because and other things are built on it, like UPI, like easier payment mechanisms, your electronic surveillance, uh, uh, efforts to sort of reduce even the tax burden, GST, all this contribute. It's not supposing the demonetization was done and all these steps were not followed through. Chances are
Mm-hmm.
we would require another demonetization because that's what
Okay.
happened several times during the Congress regime.
Okay. So this basically actually helped us India in a very big way in a
Yes,
future
it
way
is.
of looking at it.
It's also a mindset change because people figured out, especially in the business community, that cash has
Mm-hmm.
no future. I mean, I used to work in a
Correct.
company, and at that time, I was working with an entrepreneur. He very clearly made that
Mm-hmm.
statement. He said, "Cash has no future. We cannot operate with cash anymore." In
Okay, the
fact,
plastic money.
I
Mm-hmm.
still remember even after the demonetization exercise was over, uh,
Mm-hmm.
there were folks who were taking bribes in their bank accounts. They were saying, please, I will pay the GST, I will pay the income tax, and please deposit the bribe in my bank account.
Oh my goodness. That
I
was
mean,
how much
obviously,
this was the impact with people, and it made India rich also. Like everybody was ready to disclose, and everything was disclosed very easily at that particular point. And now the economy is improving because of that also.
yes, because now the one is think of it like from a business perspective and think about I mean, I'll give you a very good example of a business house, say 50 years ago, like Birla's. I'm just taking the
Mm-hmm.
name because while the name is only I'm taking as Birla's, but this was true for all business houses.
Okay,
Uh, the fact was, if you notice in Birla's, everyone there is related to one another,
correct,
or they come only through reference. There's no hiring process, so to speak, in the way that we
correct.
see in large corporates today. Right?
Okay.
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Because they need people who can be trusted because they are dealing with a lot of cash and they cannot let that cash move among circles where
People we cannot trust.
you cannot trust. So, therefore, what was happening? You are hiring people who may not have been the right person for the job,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the trust factor, that person was holding the
The post and everything, the
right.
responsibilities of moving the cash
So, the
transaction.
formalization of economy has deeper impact than the fact that government rakes in uh, uh, than just from in the form of taxes.
The Manish is so what we see today, the improvement, the way India is progressing, this is a part of that demonetization, which we could not understand during that particular time. Now we are bearing the fruits, the Indian business houses and everybody is bearing the fruits of that gradually and slowly, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Manish, so as you are aware that we normally end the session with the rapid fire questions. So today we will be doing around 7 questions rapid fire with you, and I would like to have your answers, short answers, whatever you feel to say. One myth about demonetization that needs to die.
That it was not effective.
One benefit people still don't understand.
The dismantling of terror networks,
Which sector benefited the most?
the payment sector,
Which habits of Indians changed permanently?
the habit of holding cash,
Digital or cash? What's India's future?
digital,
One thing you would change about 216 if you had a magic wand.
nothing.
Nothing. One bold prediction for Indian economy by 2030.
That we will be in the first top three economies, and if the dollar also crashes, possibly will be much closer to the other two than what appears feasible as of now.
So we are inching towards the top three. So we will be there and then we will go a bit higher also.
Yeah, that depends on the
Thank you.
devaluation of the dollar. How much dollar devaluation?
Currently, everything is very topsy-turvy in the world economy and everywhere. Manishji, it was such a nice discussion with you on demonetization. Though this thing was quite old, 2016, and we are planning it to 2025. Very soon we'll be in 2026. Such a nice insight what you have given. And I'm sure people who are listening to this podcast of ours and the previous one, they will surely like to connect with you. And I would request everybody who wants to do their financial investment and insurance, they should connect with Manishji because he will give you the right guidance because of the deep knowledge what we have. So, to all our viewers and everybody, on behalf of Zena family, I would like to thank Manish ji for giving us such a beautiful insight, as well as his basically from finance and spiritual, how he's putting a bridge across. It's such a beautiful journey which he's going through, and it is a pleasure to have him as a guest. And it may be there, he may come again with us to guide us on the financials and how to invest money in the Indian economy and how to gain profits out of it. So I'm sure everybody will connect with Manish ji, and I am Dr. Vishal along with Manish ji, signing out today. Stay conscious, stay happy, and keep questioning us. We will be there to answer. Thank you, Manish ji.
Thank, धन्यवाद.
धन्यवाद, Manish ji. Namaste.